Assalamualaikum dear students, hope you are fine by the grace of Almighty Allah. Welcome to NIVS Home School. I am Sabreena, Haque, Assistant Teacher of Science, National Lateral English Medium School, Day Shift. Dear students, today I am going to take a science class for class 9 student on the based on subject biology. The chapter name is Transportation in Plant and which is chapter 7 of this book. Now come to our today's topic. This is the chapter 6, Transport in Organism. Now, first part we will discuss, that is transport in plants, and this portion is so much easy for you because we have already learned this transportation in the plants in our class 8 science books, and here we will get again the name of osmosis and diffusion, which we already learned in our chemistry book 2, in our class 8 book 2 and chemistry book 2. Now come to the topic, the plant and water relationship. Protoprism in the physical basis of the light. 90% of this protoplasm is water. And why water is called the fluid of light? If protoplasm is devoid of water, all the metabolic reaction that usually occurs in plant will be chased in the deficiency of water. We know when we learn about the photosynthesis, the main ingredient of photosynthesis is carbon dioxide and water. So we can easily understand the water is most important part, not only for the making food, also for the transportation. Water helps in carrying the mineral salt also. Now come to first point, the important use of water. There is no substitute for water in maintaining the living nature of protoplasm. In order to keep a cell with constricted protoplasm, water supply must be ensured. Second one, it is necessary to ascertain the supply of water in necessary amount for keeping transpiration and photosynthesis running. And this is why irrigation is to be maintained for the large plant in the dry season. Now third one is, water is important solvent. The significance of water in many metabolic reaction is immense. Now next one, water plays important roles in the cellular growth of plants and in their movement. Now come, absorption is accomplished with the coordination in three processes: imbibition, diffusion and osmosis. First one is imbibition. The substances such as cellulose, starch, gelatin, etc. are hydrophilic, and when they come in contact with water, they absorb it, and conversely they become constricted when they face deficiency of water. As well as cell wall and protoplasm are colloidal in nature, and absorbing water they become swell up. That means through which process the colloidal substances absorb water is known as imbibition. That is the definition of imbibition. Now come to the diffusion. Dear students, come to the next page. There is the definition of diffusion, the process through which the molecules of any substances are spread from a region of higher concentration to a region of lower concentration is called diffusion. And this is the definition of diffusion pressure. At a constant temperature and atmospheric pressure, the potential energy of a substance to diffuse from a solution of higher concentration to a solution of lower concentration is called the diffusion pressure. And under the same atmospheric pressure, the difference between the diffusion pressure of a solution and that solvent is called diffusion pressure deficit. Now come to the osmosis, and we already learned about the osmosis in our chemistry book also. The definition of osmosis is when two molecules of different concentration with the same solute and solvent are separated with selectively permeable membrane, the solvent flows from its solution of lower concentration to the solution of higher concentration, and through this osmosis process, plants just carry the water. That means plants absorb the water. First absorption is happen through the imbibition, then it goes from one cell to another cell through the osmosis, because the selectively permeable membrane or semi-permeable membrane is the cell membrane. Now come to the absorption of water and mineral salt. The diffusion pressure deficit in the cell of a leaf is developed because of transpiration, and then water from adjacent cell moves towards the cell. In the same way, diffusion pressure deficit is developed in the second cell and water moves to it from adjacent cell, and continuous diffusion pressure deficit is extended up to root hair, and the suction force is developed. Because of this suction force, capillary water continue to enter to the cell of root hair. Water enters the root hair cell through the process of osmosis and diffusion. This way, water is taken up to the root hairs, moves through the cortex tissue. Now look, this is the root hair and this is the capillary water, and this capillary water first absorbed through the imbibition, because the outer portion is cell wall is the permeable membrane, and when it comes entered to the cell inside of the root hair, that time when it contact to the cell membrane of the cell, and then through the osmosis procedure it comes from one cell to another cell for the diffusion pressure deficit, and this diffusion pressure deficit occurs due to the transpiration, and through the xylem vessel it goes to the different parts of the plant's body. Now comes to the next phase. This water movement is called the cell osmosis or endosmosis. Then water moves from the cortex tissue to the endodermis, the pericycle, and finally into the vascular bundle. Water having entered into the vascular bundle, it taken up the flow literally through the xylem tissue. The water flowing through different branches and branchlets of the plants ultimately reaches the leaves, and this accomplished by the active involvedness of the osmosis and transpiration. Now come to the absorption of mineral salt, and most plants absorb some mineral salt with water alone. Though some mineral salt are absorbed through root hair, the meristematic region of the tip of the roots function as the main region of absorbing mineral salt. Mineral salt absorbed in the form of ions, and the absorption of mineral salt done into two ways. One is passive absorption, another is active absorption. Dear students, here they just give the initial of the name and the description you will get in the higher class. Salt absorption in this way, that means in passive absorption, accomplished through the root hair of plants with the process of imbibition and osmosis, and no metabolic energy is required for it. And in active absorption, metabolic energy is needed for absorb the mineral salt. That's why it is known as active absorption, and passive absorption's another name is inactive absorption. Now come to the translocation. This portion we already learned in class 8 science book as the transportation, and translocation in plants represent the movement or flow of water and mineral salt and of the food produced in the leaves. And we know the water and mineral salt are taken up the stem through the vessel of xylem tissue, and scientists think that the force produced by transpiration capillary action of root pressure causes the cell sap and to reach the leaves of plants. In this way, water reaches the leaves and food produced there. Then the phloem tissue takes active part in the translocation of food produced by photosynthesis, and the food is translocated through the sieve tubes of the phloem tissue. Now come to the necessity of translocation in plants. Movement or transportation of water and mineral salt in plants is called translocation in plant. All scientists agree with the necessity of translocation of water and mineral substance in plant. Now the matter is considered that water and mineral substance that are to be used must be taken from the plants where the reaction occurs. We know without water the photosynthesis procedure can't happen. That's why, and the plant's leaves need the water, but the water absorbed through the root hair, and through the translocation that water reaches to the leaves, and that's why it is too much important. Now come to the translocation of water and minerals. we have already acquired some ideas about the osmosis and diffusion. Plants absorb water from the soil through process of osmosis, and this accomplished mainly through the root hair. Plants also absorb mineral nutrients from the soil, though the process of absorbing water, process of absorbing mineral salt is quite different. We will learn it in our higher class. Water and mineral salt are collectively known as cell sap. And now we will learn how the cell sap from root hair reaches to the topmost branches of the leaves of a plant. Now come to adjacent sap of sap. Roots absorb water and mineral salt. The cell sap adjacent slowly upwards. Simultaneously, the lateral translocation of cell sap also occurs. Now, translocation of cell sap is categorized into two steps. First one, the arrival of soil water and mineral salt from the root hair and to the vascular tissue of the root, and second one is translocation from vascular bundle of the root to the leaves. At first, osmosis, diffusion and succession from transpiration, succession force, there will be a force, and succession force from transpiration plays an important role in the absorption and the translocation of water and mineral salt. The water and the mineral salt absorbed by the root hair moves to the adjacent cell by the process of osmosis. From there, they move again to the next cell. In this way, water and mineral substances reaches the vascular bundle of the root, ultimately reaches the mesophyll tissue of the leaves through the vascular bundle of stem. Now come to the translocation of the substances produced in photosynthesis. That means through photosynthesis, what substances produce? The food, that means glucose produced in the photosynthesis, and which produced in the leaves, that have to be distributed to whole the part of the plant. Then the plants absorb water through osmosis. The water is conducted to the leaves, even the topmost region of a tall plant. These leaves utilize water for photosynthesis. In the presence of light, then the chlorophyll, water taken from the soil react with carbon dioxide taken from the air and produce carbohydrate. The food produced in this way, the conducted to defined parts of a plant. Every cell of plants derives its energy to perform metabolic activity by using food through respiration. After the completion of deriving energy through respiration, the remaining food is stored in the plant. The food is usually stored in potatoes, that means in stems, sweet potatoes in roots, and aloes, that is leaf, the aloe vera in the leaves, and in different fruit seeds. Now come to phloem translocation. As the leaves and the roots grow away from one another, there must be a rapid effective transport system in between them for the conduction of food. This is done by sieve tube or phloem. Phloem is an important bundle of vascular bundle, and we know that the xylem bundle and phloem bundle is in a vascular bundle. Then in the phloem bundle there are sieve tubes, companion cells, and phloem parenchyma and bast fiber. A sieve tube is a kind of thin walled lining cell without a nucleus, and being positioned longitudinally, the side by side, they form a net-like structure. The septa in between them, missing in some places, develop sieve shape form. That means they developed a shape like a pipe, and that this is why food substances can easily move from cell to cell. In winter, this opening are blocked because of the deposition of chemical substances, cellulose, and thus the movement of food is inhibited. And at advance of summer, the cellulose is degraded and the movement of food resumes. Now come to transpiration, and this is the physiological process by which water is carried through plants and then released to the atmosphere in the form of vapor through aerial bursts. And in is called transpiration. On the basis of areal parts through which the process is occurs, transpiration categorized into three divisions: stomatal transpiration, cuticular transpiration, lenticular transpiration. First one is stomatal transpiration. Looks, this is the picture of stomata which is in the leaf, and this there is the special types of opening of two guard cell in the leaves, young stems, sepal and petals of the flower. This opening are called stomata, and through the stomata 95% of transpiration occurs. Now come to the cuticular transpiration, and there is a layer of cutin in the epidermal layer of a plant, especially the upper and lower surface of every leaf. Through the cuticle a little amount of transpiration occurs also. Now come to next type, that is lenticular transpiration. And this is the bark of the plant. Through the bark, if we observe, there is some hole. Through this hole, through this pore, there some transpiration occurs. That transpiration is known as lenticular transpiration. Now we are going to the factors of transpiration, and this portion is very much important for you. If you observe the test papers question, most of the time the MCQ knowledge based question come from this part. Then come to the first external factors. The temperature, relative humidity, light, wind are the external factors, because it stays outside of the plants and it just control the rate of transpiration. That's why it is known as the external factors. Now come to the internal factors. Internal factors are stomata, number of leaves, surface area of the mesophyll, volume of the aerial parts of the plants, and these are stray inside the plant. That's why they are known as internal factors. This part is very much important for you, and you have to learn this part. And now come to last portion for plants transportation, and this is the transpiration is a necessary evils. That question answer you already learned in class 8 science book, and now we will get it elaborately. And why transpiration is known as necessary evils, where the transpiration is most important physiological activities. Because of this transpiration, their succession force created, and through this succession force plants can absorb water and mineral salt. But here we are saying transpiration is a necessary evils. Why it is said? Scientists have agreed on the significance of transpiration. The metabolic activities of a living plant cell are dependent on this process. Because of transpiration, a succession force is developed in the xylem channel called the transpiration succession, and with the suction force, this suction force a plant absorb water and mineral salt through its root hairs, and the absorbed water and mineral salts are conducted to the leaves. If the force decreases, the absorption of water will be decreases, and the metabolic activities along with production of food will be slow. And in the mesophyll of the leaf, a diffusion pressure deficit developed because of transpiration and helps the absorption of water. A plant keeps the temperature in the cell of leaf within the certain range by continuously reducing the thermal energy absorbed by the mesophyll. On the contrary, through the transpiration contributes many uses of a plant. It also plays some harmful roles for intense. If the rate of loss of water is greater than the rate of its absorption, this will cause deficiency of water and minerals in the plants. As a result, plant may die. If the water is deficient in the soil, absorption will be very little, though transpiration will continue as before. To deal with this, nature caused many plants to shed leaves in winter, and because of the lacking of transpiration, the required diffusion pressure deficit will not develop, and as a result the rate of osmosis will slow. So it can be said transpiration is an essential activity for a plant, though it causes some harmful to it. For the contrary character, the scientists said that designed that process transpiration as a necessary evil, but as a whole transpiration has continued in spite of having some negative effects because it enables plants to survive. Dear students, this is your homework number 5. You have to make 5 knowledge based question with answer, and you have to submit your homework on Saturday from 9 am to 3 pm. Dear students, I have finished this chapter. This part of the chapter is known to you. So read the chapter and learn its important topic. Thank you.